Hello and welcome to this short webinar. This is a part of a multi-part series on Patrick Henry. This one deals with 15 biblical concepts in his Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech. If you're a person of faith, you'll be greatly encouraged that these concepts infiltrated Patrick Henry's remarks. If that's not your current persuasion, I think you'll find this interesting, the biblical influence on the founding fathers and on Patrick Henry's thinking in this Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech. Before we actually take a look at those principles, let me give 3 or 4 little panels on Henry's thinking on the virtues of faith and public life. In 1776, he said this, and that it is the mutual duty of all to practice Christian forbearance, love, and charity toward each other. On a handwritten note on the back of the stamp resolves, he says this, righteousness alone can exalt them as a nation. Reader, whoever thou art, remember this, and in thy sphere practice virtue thyself and encourage it in others. He also said this, the Bible is worth all other books which have ever been printed. So he personally had high esteem for the Bible and what it meant for life and even civic polity. Then finally, Patrick Henry's grandson. He said Patrick looked to the restraining and elevating principles of Christianity as the hope of his country's institutions. In other words, the Bible applied to societal issues and civil government was what Patrick Henry saw the hope for proper and good government. So let's break down his speech into 15 biblical ideas that were embedded in it. In his introductory remarks, he said that there's this fulfillment of the great responsibility which we hold to God and our country. As a reference point, Genesis 1:28 says, be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth and subdue it. And subdue it means to bring forth the earth's glory and the responsibility to do so. And so there's the first idea. I shall speak forth my sentiments freely and without reserve. A biblical idea behind this is an honest answer is like a kiss on the lips. And so honesty plays an important part of any public dialogue between family, between neighbors, and in society at large. A third biblical idea. I should consider myself as guilty of treason towards my country and an act of disloyalty towards the majesty of heaven, which I revere above all earthly kings. Revelation says this, on his robe and on his thigh he has this name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. The idea there is that the God of heaven is the king above all kings. And listen to the song of that siren till she transforms us into beast. Here's the biblical idea, number 4. There's a way that seems right to a man, but in the end leads to death. And so we hear the siren song of, come this way. This is what will solve our problem. This is what will give you pleasure. And yet that way that may seem right to man, in the end ultimately can lead to death. A fifth biblical idea. Are we disposed to be of the number of those who having eyes see not and having ears hear not, the things which so nearly concern their temporal salvation? This is why I speak to them in parables, Jesus said, and them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You will be ever hearing, but never understanding. You will be ever seeing, but never perceiving. For this people's heart has become callous. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. In Mark 18. This is rather deeply profound, because here Patrick Henry's words are really directly a paraphrase of this passage of Scripture. And might we be of the people that have eyes that see and ears that hear, and we don't ignore the things in front of us. A sixth idea, Patrick Henry says, for my part, whatever anguish of spirit it may cost, I am willing to know the whole truth, to know the worst, and to provide for it. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free, John 8. The men of Issachar were wise and understood the times and knew what Israel should do. So this idea of knowing the whole truth, facing our worst fears, knowing the facts and providing for it are deeply embedded biblical ideas. Patrick Henry said, is it that insidious smile which our petition has been lately received? Trust it not, sir, it will prove a snare to our feet. Psalm 25 says, my eyes are ever on the Lord, for only he will release my feet from the snare. Ultimately we need to seek out God's guidance on things. The action and behavior of others and their deceptive words and what they tell us they're going to do can be a snare to us. And so ultimately we need God's discernment and we need to ever keep our eyes on God to be led correctly. Principle number 8, suffer not yourselves to be betrayed with a kiss, a direct allusion to Judas. Are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? Let us not deceive ourselves, sir. Biblical idea number 9, because he says this twice. Let us not, I beseech you, sir, deceive ourselves any longer. 1 Corinthians says, do not deceive yourselves. If any one of you thinks he's wise by the standards of this age, he should become a fool so that he may become wise. This whole idea of worldly wisdom or false wisdom versus God's wisdom just penetrated Patrick Henry's ideas as he shared his remarks. A 10th biblical idea is reflected in Henry's word, an appeal to arms and to the God of hosts is all that's left to us. And here's an early American Revolution flag that was designed with that in mind, an appeal to heaven. Deliver me from my enemies, O God. Set me securely on high away from those who rise up against me. Deliver me from those who do iniquity, and save me from men of bloodshed. Psalm 59. And so appealing to God for this deliverance. The 11th idea, shall we acquire the means of effectual resistance by lying supinely on our backs and hugging the delusive phantom of hope until our enemies shall have bound us hand and foot? Proverbs 7 says this, as an ox goes to the slaughter, or as one in fetters to the discipline of a fool, until an arrow pierces through his liver, as a bird hastens to the snare, so he does not know that it will cost him his life. And so the idea here is that we can be deceived as we're led on our merry way, and deceived in such a way that it will lead to our death and demise. Principle number 12. Sir, we are not weak if we make a proper use of the means which the God of nature hath placed in our power. Besides, sir, we shall not fight our battles alone. There's a just God who presides over the destinies of nations and who will raise up friends to fight our battles for us. Here's a biblical idea. Blessed are those whose strength is in you, who have set their hearts on pilgrimage. They go from strength to strength. And so the idea that we are not weak or powerless if we're trusting in God. The battle serves not to the strong alone, it is to the vigilant, the active, the brave. Psalm 31, be strong and let your heart take courage, all you who hope in the Lord. It is in vain, sir, to extenuate the matter. Gentlemen may cry, peace, peace, but there is no peace. Psalm 35, for they do not speak peace, but they devise deceitful words against those who are quiet in the land. And then lastly, his closing remarks, I've always thought that they parallel those of Joshua. Patrick Henry says, I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. And those of you that know the Bible well know that in Joshua 24 he says this, but if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. And so there's 15 biblical ideas that infiltrated Patrick Henry's remarks and were representative of how the Bible infiltrated much of the thinking and worldview of those that helped found this country. My name's Craig Seibert. Thanks for listening.